What is going on, guys? CrustyKs here from the Gold Boys Network. Excited to talk to you guys about Week 7 in college football. This week we start the midweek action, not Maction, but we start midweek football. Sun Belt Conference, Conference USA, you name it, they're going to be playing during the week. So in this video, we will talk about Tuesday through Thursday. I will have a separate video for Friday and then another one for Saturday. So jumping right into this, Tuesday, FIU traveling to Liberty. Liberty, a 17.5 point favorite. This line's come down a bit, and I personally do agree with it. Liberty just hasn't impressed me much this season. Obviously, they're undefeated. That's great. But you look at who they've played, you look at the way they've played, and the defense just hasn't been there for me. Yes, the offense is obviously still good. They still have Cooley. They still have Salter. They still have Sibley at receiver. I mean, so they still have a lot of the guys, even though they lost a couple. But overall, this defense just kind of is underwhelmed, in my opinion. Obviously, Florida International, not a great team. Jenkins still there at quarterback, which leaves a little to be desired. If you watched any of him last year, the decision-making, it's not there, to say the least. Has looked a bit better this season, a little more competent, I suppose, but definitely not like a guy that I'm running to back. For this game, I like the over. It has climbed quite a bit. I think when I saw it initially, it was like 51.5 or up to 54.5 in some spots now. I still like it at that number. So the over 54.5 really just boils down to I don't like the Liberty defense. I don't like what I've seen from them. And I think that FIU, whether they're going to be likely trailing, obviously it's a 20-point spread basically. But I think they can put up points. I think they can put up enough to carry us over this total. If you want to jump in on a spread, I think FIU is the right side, but not something I'm loving getting involved with at the current number. I wish I would have grabbed it at the 20.5 that it was at a couple days ago. So for me here, it's going to be the over. If you look at this game, if you can bet props, I do have a bit of a long shot touchdown prop in this one I like. Bentley Hanshaw, I believe. So I gave this out in the Discord at plus 550. It's down to like plus 240 some spots, plus 300 some spots. You might be able to find like a stray plus 500 now. I'm not sure. But just a ton of value. This is a guy who really hasn't done much this season. But he's playing like 90% of offensive snaps. Last year, he was a big part of this offense, had 6 touchdowns. Obviously, he doesn't get a huge target share because they do run the ball a ton, but it's a guy that was a lot more involved than he is this year. And for me, it's just one of those things where it's like at plus 550, at that kind of value, you're getting a guy who, obviously wasn't a prominent role in this offense. And being out there all the time, I believe those opportunities are going to come sooner rather than later. And I just couldn't pass it up at that kind of price.
Wait, before we get back to the picks, I wanted to thank you all for watching. Friends don't let friends watch videos without hitting the like button. So go ahead and press the thumbs up button and like the video. If you're new here and not subscribed, you should go ahead and do so because we're dropping new content each and every day on the Gold Boys Network. We strive to cover every sport and give out picks and analysis and valuable information for free on the Gold Boys Network. So make sure you're subscribed and hit the bell so you can get notified when we drop something new. I'm Brad Thomas. Let's get back to the picks.
All right, moving on to Wednesday. One game on Wednesday here. New Mexico State taking on Jacksonville State. This spread's sitting at 20. Jacksonville State minus 21. First, and like my initial reaction to this line was it felt huge. Jacksonville State has been playing really well as of late. I'm not going to say they haven't. But laying 3 touchdowns with them, I'm not sure that that's something that I prefer to do. Obviously, we know what Jacksonville State wants to do. They're going to run the ball, and they're going to have success doing it. Huff's been really good with his legs. Arm leaves a little bit to be desired, but I'm not sure it's going to matter in this one. Obviously, New Mexico State lost a ton in the portal. Pavia's no longer there. He's at Vanderbilt, as well as their tight end. For me here, though, you look at the running backs for Jacksonville State with Trey Stewart and Anwar Lewis. And like I said, adding in Huff, that's 3 runners who I think can have an absolute field day. If you're looking at New Mexico State, man, against the run, 5.74 yards per carry allowed, 16 touchdowns, and I don't have the number. I must have forgot to put it down, but it's over 200 rushing yards per game. So while I don't love laying this giant number, I think it's the only way to go here. Give me Jacksonville State minus the 21. I just don't think New Mexico State can keep up. Their offense stinks. Jacksonville State, obviously, defensively, has kind of taken a step back compared to where they were last year. But this is a team that, in my opinion, especially at home, can make enough stops to separate themselves here. And I just don't see New Mexico State slowing down this Jacksonville State offense at all. So give me Jacksonville State minus the 21 here. We are moving on to Thursday. So we got a 3-game slate here on Thursday. The first game is Coastal Carolina taking on James Madison. If you've been paying attention, James Madison just lost to ULM outright. So James Madison was a Sun Belt, favorite for their side of the conference. And now you drop a game to ULM, all of a sudden, you got to win. So, they come into this game, they're a 10-point favorite, rightfully so, in my opinion. Clear-cut better team. For me here, I wasn't high on Coastal coming into this season. They did win their last game. I have a hard time with this James Madison team. So what I've looked at here, I like their offense. The defense, though, I don't love it. This is just such a tricky game for me. This is the one when I was going through these games, I really struggled with picking a side or picking a total or anything. It's just a game where I could easily see it going both ways. I could easily see James Madison coming out after a bad loss to ULM and putting belt to ass and just handling business here against Coastal. But in the same breath, I could see Coastal hanging around. The Coastal Carolina offense is not bad. Obviously, their wins not very impressive. They beat Jacksonville State. Was that week 1? They dominated Jacksonville State. I think that surprised a lot of people, myself included. But other than that, William and Mary, Temple, I guess. For me here, I think at home, I'm going to go James Madison minus the 9.5. I don't love it. It's probably my least favorite of this midweek slate, but I think James Madison gets right. The Coastal defense stinks. James Madison on offense, like I said, should be able to put up points. And I think the James Madison defense does enough after getting embarrassed against ULM to cover this 9.5 for us.
Hey guys, I just want to give a quick reminder that new users can bet $5 at FanDuel on any of the bets in this video and win $150 in bonus bets if the bet wins. Now let's get back to the bets.
The next one, UTEP traveling to Western Kentucky. Western Kentucky is a 19.5-point favorite now, so it's moving a little bit. For me here, I tried to back UTEP against Sam Houston State last week. It looked like a fool. That was my own mistake. Caden Veltkamp at quarterback for Western Kentucky. Obviously, he's taken over since TJ Finley got hurt. I think he's in for a big game here. You get a UTEP defense who hasn't seen a lot of quarterbacks who throw the ball, mainly because teams can just run all over them. That won't be the case here. You get a Western Kentucky team who's big-time air raid. They're going to throw the ball 40-plus times. And I think Veltkamp has a huge game. In terms of receivers, Keyshawn Johnson, this is a guy, if you remember Malachi Corley, this guy gets that kind of volume. Is he, is the same kind of receiver? Not exactly, but sees the volume, 9-10 targets a game, easy. And he's going to face a UTEP team who I believe is bottom 5 in opponent completion percentage. So, almost at 70%. It's 68% for the season. So they're not breaking up passes. They're not stopping teams from, completing passes. This is going to be a rough game, in my opinion, for UTEP. I don't want to lay the 19.5. It was just too big of a number for me to get behind, truthfully. So what I'm looking at here, and let me just pull it up so I get you guys an accurate number. It's going to be the Western Kentucky team total. I think they score at will. 38.5. It's a monster number, but I think they put up 42. I think we see 6 touchdowns out of this team. I just don't see how UTEP comes up with stops. They got lucky that Sam Houston wanted to run the ball, didn't really throw much, because the completions that Sam Houston did have through the air were all big plays. And now you're going to face a team that looks to throw the ball, looks to hit those splash plays, and I think Western Kentucky is going to get whatever they want. So for me here, Western Kentucky team total over 38.5. The last one on the slate for Thursday, Middle Tennessee taking on Louisiana Tech. So you get Middle Tennessee coming in. They've lost 4 straight. Vadiato is still there from last season. Their offense just looks bad, to put it lightly. I just don't know how else to put it. The defense hasn't looked great either. This is a team that's just not good. Louisiana Tech coming in with 1 win as well. And, I mean, this is a team also not very good. They did lose to FIU in their last game. I believe they were favored in that game too. So, I mean, for me here, you get a Louisiana Tech team averaging 120 points a game. Offense is ranked bottom 10. Middle Tennessee is ranked right around the same. So, I mean, these two offenses here, I can give you guys the numbers. So, Louisiana Tech as an offense, 129th in rushing yards per game at just 77. That's absolutely horrible. Surprisingly enough, their defense hasn't been terrible, only giving up 21.8 points per game. But you've got to realize why that is. I mean, A, they haven't played anybody good, and B, they've been in a lot of games where like possessions kind of been the name of the game, and so you see a lot of long drives, a lot of time tick off the clock, and I just have such a hard time with either of these teams, truthfully. What I did settle on was Louisiana Tech laying the 5.5, but man, oh man, this game, as much as I didn't like the Coastal game, that should at least be a good game to watch. This Louisiana Tech Middle Tennessee game, I'm not sure that I'm watching this at all. So, I mean, I've seen a lot of love for the under throughout the last couple of days, and I understand it, but my concern with that is sometimes when you get these bad teams playing each other, it just turns into like one of those random shootouts, and I know you guys have seen it before. We saw it last season with, we saw a few of them. I'm trying to think of like one just off the top of my head. UTEP, Sam Houston State last year, I think there was like 80 combined points scored in that game between two teams that are just bad. And this kind of gives me that same vibe where it's like two kind of struggling offenses, but they're going to place like bad defenses. So, you know, do they get the offenses going? Maybe. So for me here, Louisiana Tech at home, I'm going to lay the 5.5. That's my best bet for this one. But that does conclude the Tuesday to Thursday slate. As I mentioned before, I will have a video for Friday. There's 4 games on Friday, and then we'll talk about the 5 top games, most popular games on Saturday in another video. As always, you can get all of my official plays at goldboys.com. If you have a gambling problem, don't want to hurt a gambler. Thank you, guys.